Hi, I'm Michelle from 12 by 12 Cardstock Shop, and today I'm here to teach you how to make this adorable little beach tote. This is a dimensional little purse gift box, and it has a little paper lei and also has removable little sunglasses that slide on and off. So super fun for a friend who's headed to Hawaii, or a retirement gift, even just a regular birthday gift. So let's jump into the software and I'll show you how to get this all set up for cutting so we can make this adorable project.
Okay, so once you have downloaded your files, there's going to be two files for this project. The first is Beach Tote Accessories, which is what you're seeing here, and it's the handles and some of the accessories you need for your project. So that one you can just cut. There's nothing special you need to do to prepare the file. That one's just ready to cut. I talk a little bit about how to select papers for your flowers when I design the project, but essentially this is all of the flowers that you'll need to make one lei, and you can cut them all out of the same red cardstock, or you can mix and match scraps and use different colors and textures of reds. So that's something fun you can do to kind of change that up. But everything in this file is just ready to go. And then the actual tote, you do need to do a little work on this to get it ready for cutting. So I've provided the actual tote here, which is what you see in white. And then I did also add some accent pieces. So in case you wanted to cut like a pretty pattern paper that wasn't stable enough to actually be the box, this is a layering piece. So you could cut it out of a sturdy cardstock and then layer a pretty pattern paper on top. So that's why I provided those. So the file is grouped when we open it up, and we're going to come over here to these double boxes and see how it's, when you hover over it says ungroup. We're going to click that, and that just basically unlocks the different layers so we can move them around. So I'm going to move this, whoops, undo. I'm going to move this layering piece just off of my main box so we can work with the box. So the box itself, along with the scoring lines, is grouped as well. So I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to select it and then come over here and hit ungroup. Now, I had someone ask previously why we don't just designers don't just design these score lines as score lines in the Cricut software. And that's because we actually do design them as score lines, but when they're opened in the Cricut software, it converts them back and you're not able to save a file in Cricut Design Space. So that's why we have to do this extra step. It's kind of annoying, but once you learn how to do it, it's really not that big of a deal. So I'm going to go in here. All of these lines, this line, this line, this line, and this line are all score lines in addition to this and this. So you'll kind of notice where the folds of a box are. It's one solid piece. We don't actually want these to cut off, or they'll just cut away. Like if we cut this right as it is right now, this would cut off, and this would cut off. So just keep in mind that this is one solid piece, and any lines that are running through the center of the piece should be score lines. So we're going to hover over it and click on it to select. And then if I hold shift down, I can select multiple lines. So I'm going to do these long side pieces. So I've got all four of those selected. And then up here where it says Operation Basic Cut, if I do use the drop down menu, there is a score option. So I'm going to hit score on those. And now when I click away, I can see that those have turned to score lines. So now I'm going to do this line and this line. Same thing, score. And then this one. And this one, I'm just going through and changing all these lines to score lines. And then finally I need this long piece and this long piece. Okay, so now you can see all the lines that should be score lines are perforated, so that's perfect. Now, if I just hit make it from here, Cricut doesn't know that I want these to stay attached to the main box. It'll just cut the score lines separate from the box, but I want to tell Cricut that I want these score lines to stay exactly where they are on the box so that my fold lines are in the correct spot. So to do that, I am going to select the box and the score lines and then come down here and hit attach. And that will just tell Cricut I want it cut exactly like it shows. So then when I go over and hit make it, you'll see that it's actually all the score lines are lined up exactly where they should be, and it's going to cut just exactly how I want it to do. So that is how to get your box ready. Everything else is really simple, easy to cut. You'll kind of figure out where you want that to be. And again, you can use the matting pieces if you want or if you don't want. So those are just there for you as an extra bonus. So now that we will go ahead and get this cut, and then we'll move on to assembling the project.
Okay, now that we have all of our pieces cut out, it's time to start assembling. So let me first just go over the supply list real quick. What you'll need, of course, you'll need all the pieces that you cut out, your little tote purse, assorted flowers. You need glue. I like to use liquid glue for dimensional projects. I'll explain that a bit more when we're gluing, but the Tombow Mono liquid adhesive is my favorite glue. I also really love Bearly Arts. Either one of those are great. And then you'll need a paintbrush or a pencil, something that you can use to roll your flowers to just give them some shape. You need 2 red pieces of ribbon that are about 1 foot each. So 2 of those. Some scissors, and then you'll need a needle and some thread. And I used about 3 feet of thread. Now that's way too much, but it's better to start with way too much than way too little and have it run out. So I already threaded my needle. I didn't want this to be like a 45-minute video while I tried to use my old lady eyes to get my needle threaded. I literally tried like 17 times to get it in. And you know how when you do it and then you think you've got it and you pull it and nope, it's not. So I did that off camera. So now I am just tying double knot on the end of my thread. And this is nice thick hand embroidery thread. You can use regular sewing thread. You can use embroidery floss. Fishing line works good too, clear fishing line. Just whatever you have that's going to be great to thread flowers onto. All right, so we've got our needle threaded. And then you're going to need, in between each of these flowers, is some sort of bead or something to kind of give it dimension and keep the flowers apart. So there's a couple options there. I used perler beads. So my daughter has these little perler beads and I just picked out all the red ones. Another great option is like seed beads or really any kind of beads. And then a free option is these little stir sticks you can get at the gas station or at a coffee shop. These are perfect too because you can just take some scissors and just snip them. And that flew far away. But you can just snip them and they look just like the perler beads. So you can make your own little perler beads with these. So that's another free option. Grab it at the gas station. Anywhere they serve coffee usually has those. All right. And I think that's all. So we are ready to get started. All right, so first let's assemble our little purse tote. So we've already scored and we're just gonna fold along the score lines so that it's ready when we're ready to glue. Get all the little tabs on either side. And I really love to fold unscored lines because it goes so quickly. The score tool, Cricut score tool is one of my favorite tools. I tried to get along without it for a long time, but once I bought it, I was like, well, what have I been doing? Should have just bought that a long time ago. All right, so almost got all my edges folded. Okay, so the first thing we're going to do is attach the little sides so you can see how this is already coming together. It's really simple to glue it together. You just tuck these little tabs in on the bottom and there's 3 little corners. You attach those 3 tabs just like that. That folds your purse. So I'm going to start with this bottom one. One of the reasons I love liquid glue so much for dimensionals is, first of all, I think it holds so much better than other types of glue. But there's a moment where you like place your piece in place and you might need to just adjust it slightly. And if you're using other kinds of adhesive that grab immediately, you're just pretty much stuck if you don't get it lined up right. So I know some people love the red tape, but I just like the liquid glue. You do have to hold it a little longer, but I just feel like it allows you a little bit of time to adjust. So this is hard to do on camera because I have to hold it at a weird angle, but I just need to hold it for a second and let it attach. And then we're going to get the next tab. I think I'll actually do both of these at once. Just fold it into place and hold it for a second. Just apply pressure until it catches. But yeah, that's why I really prefer the liquid glue. And I have some dimensional projects. I've been making dimensional projects forever. I have some that are like 5 years old and still holding tight. So I think this Tombow Mono really does a good job of holding. All right. Okay, so we got that little corner done. I'm going to repeat for the other side. All right, so I've got both of those corners glued down. A little bit tricky to get those down. And then I'm just going to glue this longer flap. Finish this off. Again, I'm going to hold it in place for a second. It does help to kind of apply pressure from the inside too, just so you're doing it from both spots and get it nice and secure. All right. Okay, we got that. So now we have our basic box shape. So now we are going to apply the little handles, and I'm using Basil Dotted Swiss. So this is a really cute dotted pattern. I thought it kind of looked like a straw tote, so that's why I chose it for my project. But you'll see one side has dots and one side is flat. So we want to position this so that the dots are pointed outwards on each side. So it's counterintuitive, but you actually need to place glue on the front. So see how that slides in there? So I'm just going to put a dab of glue on either end of my handle. Now you can totally measure this out, find the exact center and place this. I am an eyeballer. So I'm going to eyeball it. I'm just going to hold it down for a second. And then I'm going to do the same thing on the other side. And once I've got this one in, it's pretty easy to line these up. So just kind of try to get it to match the other side. Hold it for a second. Okay, so then I'm going to be like, oh, is there one side that's better than the other? I don't know. This side looks good to be my front. So the last thing we're going to do for this little tote is glue this little fern leaf down. So this is easy. It's just a single cut. I'm going to apply some glue to it. And I want to kind of stick it on at an angle, keeping in mind that the flower lay is going to be right here. So I want to like move it in just a little from the edge so that it's not completely covered by the flower lay. So this is just a little decorative design. Straw totes sometimes have other designs woven in. All right, so that's our little tote. Now we are going to prep our little glasses. So you can see this little tote has these little glasses that actually slide out. You can glue these down if you want, or I think it's fun to leave them so they slide out. So the catch here is the back piece is glued, and that's just kind of, it's like a paper clip made out of glasses. That's what holds it on like that. So we're going to just adhere the glass back. So the best way to do this is actually like, pretend like you're putting these on your face. What would it look like if you were wearing them on your face? The loop would be over your ear, and then you just fold it in. That's kind of how you can know how to place them. So I'm going to put a little dab of glue here on the back of the glasses. Attach my back piece. So it looks like that. You could cut another piece if you wanted to have both of them. I think it just looks cute without the extra, the little peg, the earpiece showing on the front. So that's why I just did one. I just want it to kind of slide like a paper clip. So that is ready to go. And now it is time to work on the flower lay. So when you open the file that has the accessory items in it, you'll see that there are several flowers, and there's a pink flower and a red flower. Now, if you just cut exactly what is on the mat, you'll have enough flowers for your lay. I wanted to kind of mix and match some different papers. 12 by 12 Cardstock Shop has a ton of specialty papers, and I didn't want to leave any of them out. So I cut my reds out of a bunch of different colors. I have a dotted Swiss. Again, it has that little pretty raised dot. I used a pearlescent red. See if I can catch the light a little. I used a glitter red. And then I also threw in some of this pink Mylar. So I cut, you know, regular pink, but then we have this pink Mylar that looks like holographic plastic sheets. And I thought that was really cute too. So I wanted to mix and match, get a whole bunch of different flowers in my lei. So that's why I did it that way. You can cut from one piece or use up your scraps and cut a bunch of different flowers. So let me show you how to assemble this lei. So you'll notice in a file, each of the flowers have a tiny little circle in the center. Now I did this not because I expect you to be able to thread, you know, whatever twine you've chosen through that tiny little hole. It's more of a guide for you. Also, it's to make it so that the needle will slide through fairly easily and you won't be struggling and stab yourself and get blood all over your project. So that is why I did that. It's a guide for where the center is. And also if you can get your needle kind of placed right where that is, it will really easily slide through. So on my design, I did red, a red flower, a yellow center, and then a bead, a pink flower, a yellow center, and a bead. So just kind of making a pattern. So you can start wherever you want. Oh, actually, I forgot to twirl the flowers first. So I've already got a bunch of them done, but the way that you do this is you just take a flat flower, and any kind of tool will work, a pencil, there's our specialty tools for this, but you just kind of put your finger on the back and apply pressure between your finger and whatever round item you have, and then twirl it. See how you kind of just do that motion, and you can do individual petals if you want. At the end, we're going to kind of scrunch it, so it doesn't have to be perfect when you're doing this part. It just kind of gives them a little bit of dimension so that they're flat, so that they're not flat and they look like real flowers. So that's some pink ones. Do a couple reds. Now, I'm not going to worry about the yellow ones because they're so small and they just kind of go as flower centers, so they don't need to be shaped. But just like that. So I've got some piles already done to work with. So let's get started. The first flower is actually a test to see if your knot at the end is big enough. So this one, yeah, it doesn't slide through, but sometimes you won't have your knot quite big enough and it will just slide right through. And then you know that you need to go back and retie your knot a little bit bigger, but that is holding good. So we start with red, and then we'll grab a yellow. The yellow ones are pretty tiny and delicate, but and then we do a bead, then we do pink and a yellow. I always have to be a little bit more careful on the yellow ones that I don't accidentally stab myself, but you can see how the beads just kind of, and the beads and the curling of the flowers just add some good dimension there. Okay, so I'm just going to keep going, rotate my paper lines. Now, if you end up using the Mylar paper, I actually like to stack a couple of these just because they're see-through. Maybe put a couple in together, kind of just a fun addition. And then I'll put a bead. I won't use a flower center on those. I'll just put a bead. Now you can do whatever you want design-wise, but I just think that looks fun. Now, one thing I love about this project is because it's an SVG file, you can actually enlarge your flowers and make a real life-size lei. So if somebody's going to Hawaii, how fun would that be to make them a paper lei? Kind of as a congratulations, or like a special birthday party, or lots of different ways you can use those, but you can make a full size one. You just do this exact technique. You're just working with larger flowers. So that's really fun. Okay, I'm just going to keep going with my pattern here and get this done. You want the finished thing to be about 6 inches. So after I start to get close, I'll start measuring it to see how many more I need, but I'll just keep working at it until I get nice and long. All right, so we've got all of our flowers threaded on. Now, as a final step, I like to just really gently kind of grab these in my hand and crunch them. Oh, not that hard. Some of the bottom ones fall off, but just gently kind of crunch them. Just helps give them that crinkly look. Okay, well, let me put the one back on that fell off. See, that is what not to do. Don't crunch it so hard that you squeeze the end one off. Just very gently do it. All right, so we got that back on. Okay, so next thing we're going to do is tie a knot. So there's a knot on this end. Now we're going to tie a knot on this end, on the other end. Now you want to kind of keep these a little bit loose. If you pull too hard, you're going to like scrunch them all in. You want them to be loose and flowery and kind of how a lei is. So tie your knot. Don't squeeze it hard and tie your knot, you know, bunch them together. Tie your knot like liberally, so there's a little bit of space at the end, and that way your flowers can kind of gently hang rather than being all tightly tucked together. I'm going to do one more just because I want to make sure that it stays nice and tight. Okay. It was actually really relaxing to thread all those flowers. I was thinking, hey, maybe this is almost as relaxing as laying on the beach in Hawaii. I mean, maybe, but it was really calming and relaxing. So just do that one more time. I want to have a nice end piece. Okay, got that. Now I'm going to trim my thread. I want to be sure that I have some pieces on either end. So I've got, you know, a little bit of twine on each end. So now what I'm going to do, let me move this out of the way. Now it's time to apply the ribbon to each end. So I'm going to take a piece of ribbon, and using the thread that's there, I'm going to carefully tie a knot around the end of my thread. Now these pieces of thread are, of ribbon, I had you cut them about 12 inches long. That's probably a little more than you need, but again, you want to make sure that you have enough. So this is kind of tricky because you have to hold the twine and like tie the knot at the same time. But once you get that first one in, you're good. Now I like to just put a little dab of glue in here just to help secure it, keep my thread attached to my ribbon, and then I double knot it. Just like that. Get it nice and tight. Okay, so now I have ribbon at both ends, and I am going to just make this look kind of pretty by trimming it. And remember, I did put glue to keep those ends in. And if I was making a big version for someone to actually wear, I would really make sure that that's glued and triple knotted so that it's not going to slide out. But we're just using ours as a decorative element for our bag. So, okay, next step is to just tie it around our little bag so that it hangs, and you can just use the ribbon to tie a little bow. You could use ribbon or twine for this part. I just liked the added polka dot. I thought was cute. Just kind of adjust it so that your bow is exactly like you want it. Tighten it up. Honestly, tying the ribbon to the end of the thread is probably the hardest part of this project. Okay, so I've got my little bow, and I'm going to trim my ends all pretty and even. It looks like that. All right, so now I have my little hanging lei from my gift tote. Super cute. So I am going to go ahead and stuff this. I got this. I have a friend who is going to Hawaii next week, so I thought this would be kind of a fun little going away gift. And I put some island-inspired airplane snacks in it. Let me grab those. All right, so I got some yummy pineapple rings, some toasted coconut clusters, and some tropical mamba. I thought that was a good mix of sweet and chocolate and all kinds of goodies for her plane ride. This is also really fun as a birthday gift. You could tuck a gift card in there. It'd be really fun for a retirement gift. Someone who is retiring, you could put a little handmade card in there and a little note. So there you have it. There is my Hawaiian luau tote with a paper lei.